right, calling the Lakeville Open Space Committee meeting to order. It's 7:03 p.m. Wednesday, August 5th. We'll start out with the reading the COVID document. Here you go. The script for remotely conducted open meetings. As a preliminary matter, this is Jesse Medford, Chair of the Lakeville Open Space Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members, staff, and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Liz Nash.
Aye.
Brian Reynolds, he's not here yet and he's not reappointed yet, so I was starting without. Mike Schroeder.
Aye.
Donna Walbrick.
Aye.
Adam Young. I didn't hear
Adam?
you. Are you on mute? All
Yep.
right. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. NA, we don't have staff anymore. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, NA. Good evening. This open meeting of the Lakeville Open Space Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Lakeville Open Space Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they can conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. There will be no public comment at this meeting, so you do not have to, as a note for myself, never mind. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And the first item on the agenda, which I'm reading directly off the town website, is in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency The August 5th, 2020 public meeting of the Lakeville Open Space Committee shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. You do not need a Facebook account to view the meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed at a later date at lakecam.tv. And the first item on the agenda is the meeting minutes. Approval of May 26th and July 1st meeting minutes. And has everybody had a chance to read these minutes?
Yes.
I've read them.
Open my copy of them for a second. I should have done that before the meeting started. Let's see. There we go. And let's see, May 26th. Did anybody that was at this meeting, let's see, wait for it to open, okay. So it's me, Mike, Liz, Brian Reynolds, and Donna that could, they need to vote to approve these minutes or not approve them. Does anybody have any corrections or changes that they'd like to point out?
I'd like to move to accept them as written.
All right.
Do I have to specify them each, or can they be done together?
If there's no changes to be made, we can do them together. So you're motioning to
That I move that we
as written.
that we accept the minutes as written for, what were the dates again?
May 26th and July 1st.
May 26th and July what?
First.
First.
2020.
I'll second that. I'll second that motion.
All right, Liz seconds. Any further discussion? Nothing heard. So we have to do a roll call vote. I'll go with an order of how I see you on my screen. Liz first. How do you vote?
Aye. Yes.
Adam Young.
I vote to accept.
Anna Wabrick.
Yep, yes.
Mike Schroeder.
Yes.
And myself, yes, that's unanimous in favor. Okay, next item on the agenda. Let's see. All right, going to old business. Discuss.
Question.
Yep, go ahead.
It occurs to me that people watching this don't see the minutes. I guess that's always true of a meeting, because you don't read the minutes out.
Right.
So I guess I guess it just remains, if somebody wanted to see them, they can request them.
They were emailed in with the agenda and
Yes.
a spreadsheet that we're going to go over later, all to be posted on the website, on the town
Yes.
website.
Okay. Yeah.
So they should be up there. I haven't looked for them. I've only pulled the agenda off of there. The other items should be there too, because I was told that they were being uploaded. So. On the agenda, the second item, or old business, discuss appointment renewals. And we communicated this via email today just to verify every one of you has been renewed. So I know we have at least 4 here with myself, Mike, Donna, and Liz. Now, Adam, I hadn't heard back from you yet. Are you also renewed?
Yes, I've had my
5 of us are renewed.
Yep.
Brian, our 6th member, was not able to renew yet. He needs to set up an appointment. I don't know. Did you communicate that part with him, Mike? He needs to get an appointment. You're on mute still. Yeah.
He may have been trying to call in. He should have had all the numbers, but something may be messed up. But I will call him to remind him that he does need to.
Actually, I want to say that I made the appointment and they told me to call when I got there and I couldn't get through at all. So I actually had to kind of go through different people to kind of get somebody to answer the phone. So you might want to say that.
Yeah.
The main line's nobody's answering the main line.
Mm. All right. And on that note, so that's 6 people total, and we have a 7th seat that is now available. And the town sent out an email. I think it went to all subscribers of their email system, and they posted it on Facebook that we do have an opening. I haven't heard if there's been any response to that yet. I think they would just email me if there's responses, but I can contact them just to find out if maybe they got some responses and haven't heard anything yet. All right, so next item, discuss the open space plan work group meetings. I know Adam, you had mentioned wanting to discuss the survey that goes with the open space plan. Got that prepared? Go ahead.
Right. So I have prepared a survey that I think would benefit the town to disseminate and to gather data regarding residents' opinions about open space and recreation and preservation. And I have the survey in front of me here. Part of me wonders whether this is the most appropriate place to share the survey. Now I have a background in conducting survey research. That's what I do for my day-to-day job. And one of the principles of creating research that is valid is making sure that you're not sharing it with the people who will be taking it before you send it, because that can actually end up biasing results. It's kind of this, you don't want to see how the sausage is made kind of thing. So I do wonder whether it would be best suited to discuss in executive session or in some other forum. I can speak in generalities and rather than show the specific questions. And so maybe we should discuss what the best method of moving forward is.
We can definitely look at the reasons that you're authorized to have an executive session and see if it fits anywhere in there.
Mm.
And we would be able to do that next meeting then. We wouldn't be able to do an executive session today because we have to we have to notify the public in advance that there would be one. So yeah, we can look into that for next time. Go ahead, Mike.
It might, am I unmuted?
No, we can hear you.
It might be a good idea to send it out and let us read it beforehand. We can't discuss it among ourselves, but that way we would be prepared before we came to the meeting.
Okay. Just taking.
Yeah, so that's definitely what we should do then, find out how we can put this on executive session, what rule it falls under, and then just share it with each other to read before the meeting and discuss at the meeting.
Sure. What I can do, just so so there's more satisfaction with discussion of the survey. It doesn't need to be so secretive. It's just a matter of scientific validity. But I can tell you what the general questions are. We do want to ask questions. I'd call them basic questions about the people who are answering. So, for example, are you a resident? Where in the town do you live? Optional questions that help us know that the respondents are representative of the town at large. So demographic information that is optional to respond to, that kind of thing will tell us, yes, the people who responded are similar at large to the people who live in town. That helps make the argument that you can generalize beyond the few people who actually answered the survey and say they are representative of the people who didn't get a chance to review the survey. That's important. Perhaps more substantial questions such as, without reading the exact questions, but use of various town facilities and open spaces and parks, and what kind of activities are conducted in those spaces. So whether that be sports or hobbies or nature, bird watching, etc. These are things that we'd want to evaluate. It'd be really useful to know, for example, if the town has a large population of, I'll just pick something, fishermen, but rarely anyone who golfs. And we know that that's anecdotally not true, but it'd be really good to know what are the kind of activities the town wants to be undertaking so that we can make sure that if, for example, an open space property comes up for potential purchase, we are prioritizing in our recommendations the things that the town is most likely to embrace, and so that it has widespread support. Other questions: would it help us understand what kind of resources we can be providing that are not already available? So, for example, do people know about all the different open spaces that are currently existing? If not, which are the ones that people don't know about? That can tell us maybe we should have a better focus on our website or some kind of trail map or other resources, because it sure doesn't make a lot of sense to have preserved areas that are available for recreation if people simply don't know about them. That a bit defeats the purpose. Then there are some other questions which we don't need to get into. I don't want to get in the weeds, but essentially questions that might influence how we are to proceed in an ideal world. So for example, what kind of appetite does the town have for further protection of environmental resources or recreation areas, historic sites, and to what extent do residents prioritize those reasons? And in sum, we want to make sure that as we sit on this committee representing the town, we have a strong understanding of their opinions and their perspectives, so that it's not simply my opinion about what should be done and my opinion about where resources should be spent, but it's their opinion, and we have this data to back it up. So I think it's important to send out a survey like this, to include this in the open space plan, and once conducted, to share these results and to let the town know. And whether that be through the Facebook groups, whether through the town website, or once we're actually able to go back in person to share it that way as well. I think this would be a really valuable endeavor that we should be embracing for the open space plan and beyond.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Did I unmute it?
Yep, you're good now.
It sounds like you've put a lot of thought into it, Adam. The one thing that I am concerned about is that we need to make sure, for the type of survey you're talking about, we need a lot of responses. And how do we get those responses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll speak to that. That's a really great point, because surveys are only valuable to the extent that the data is reliable, right? So a survey of 7 people, you'll have answers, but they won't be good ones because they're not generalizable beyond the small group of people who answered. So you're right, absolutely, we need a lot of responses. And I think that there are a couple ways to get that kind of response rate. One way that I've been considering is to be very loud, so to speak, about the survey's availability in online communities, like I previously mentioned, Facebook, the town website, and any others you might recommend. In a normal time, I think it would be great to, put down flyers in coffee shops and Panera Breads, etc. I think that's kind of thing would be really valuable. I'm open to ideas, but I do think that the more we cater to the current situation, and that being that people are at home, they have access to surveys online a bit easier than they have access to physical copies of things, and they certainly might not wanting to be touching such things. I think that's going to make it really likely that we do get a large sample size. The only concern that I have right now is primarily making sure that people can become aware of the online survey if they are not the kind of person who tends to use online things. Simply because we want the survey to be representative of the town, and there are many people in the town who do not spend most of their time online. They don't have a Facebook account, but their opinions are equally valid, and we certainly want them to be heard. That is something that is going to be more difficult to get around, especially in current times. It's a challenge that I'm aware of, and one that I'll work towards thinking through in the coming weeks ahead.
That's where I think we would need to be able to get a flyer in one of the town's mailings. I don't know if we want to wait till their January mailing. Is that the only time they mail everybody during the year, I believe? Only time I could think of.
And what is the process for getting a flyer in the town January mailings?
Mike, didn't you do that last time this was done? Did they, I think I remember filling that out with the annual town census. Or I might be thinking of a master plan, actually.
I really don't remember. All I know is we had very few responses. It seems to me that it was under 40 responses, and I just didn't think it was enough to be really significant. But
Right.
we weren't using anything online at all, so somehow I don't know if there are places where I know we can't put things at coffee shops and places like that. We can't. I don't think you could put the whole questionnaire, the whole survey questionnaire, in a town mailing. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'd have to make sure that it didn't exceed. But another thing that goes out, and you need a lot of advance notice. But my gas and electric bill always has a little public notice type of thing. Usually by the time it comes out, whatever they're telling you about was over a month ago. But with enough notice, maybe it would make a difference. There may be a few places where we could post a flyer. This may be something they'll let us put one in the post office even.
And the actual paper flyers, like you said, you don't get many responses, but it's a way to ensure that we're reaching everybody, not just the people who are online. And I know we'll get a lot of people filling out the online surveys in ways that it wasn't done before, but now the local groups are very popular. I think it was the Cable Advisory Committee that did something last year that got a lot of response because of those groups. And like you said, being loud in those groups, constantly reminder, hey, can you please fill out this survey? It's very important, and people did respond that way. But we do have to make sure we reach people that aren't, using a lot of online things like Facebook. Go ahead, Mike.
Is there an issue of having people fill it out more than once?
Yes, there are ways around it, especially if it's online. It's very easy to check because without getting too far into the details, there are unidentifiable information that can nevertheless indicate a duplicate. I won't bore you with details, but this is something that I found in the past. Someone had tried to send in 30 survey responses to one I had done. There are ways of doing it. I won't bore you, but it was very obvious to me that these all came from the same person. I think the idea of survey fraud, especially for something that there's no benefit for lying or for stacking the survey. So I think the risks are very low. And even if something like that did happen, thankfully you have a trained eye on the case who can detect that without too much of an issue.
Hi,
Go ahead, Liz.
I wonder if trying to think about more likely places that if we did have a paper copy, or places where we could ask the people who are running it, if someone requested the survey, that they could have a stack of surveys available, and maybe some of us could take rounds and go pick them up. And that sounds a little nutty, but I was going for, as opposed to coffee shops, I was thinking more about like maybe the local dog groomers, because a lot of the people that use open space, the part of the reason is because of the dogs. Or Captain Bub's, because that's open space too. The fishermen go into Captain Bub's type of thing. I mean, sounds like a bit of work, and we'd need to identify the places. And I know with COVID, people are hyper about touchable things, but I mean, it is going to be really difficult to get those older citizens who aren't on electronics if we don't find some way to communicate with them that it's the survey is available and they can pick one up at such and such a place.
Yeah, that's a really, really good idea.
I
Go ahead.
I get a newsletter from the COA on a regular basis. I don't know if it's monthly, but maybe they would send something out about it. If they wouldn't, and maybe would say that they had copies of it, or people could request copies, or maybe they would actually send the whole thing out in their mailing.
The COA, do you have any other ideas for groups that would be worth looking into?
Churches?
Churches. Right, yeah. Okay, and we can continue talking about this as we go in email if something comes to you later. But yeah, this is a great idea to have copies present at a location, even if it's just the library, to send out a flyer and to say, please take this online. If you don't have a computer or are not comfortable using one, you can find a hard copy, let's just say at the town library, and turn it in there. And then it can be picked up. I don't even know if the library is open right now, but maybe there can be some kind of situation set aside.
They could always turn it in at town hall after filling it out, and it could get put in our box. Maybe that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have some good options. I guess I'll leave it at I will share it with all of you in the coming days so you can review it on your own time, and then we can talk about it again after you've reviewed it.
Sounds good. Do we have anything else on the open space plan? Anybody else have something to discuss? All right. Nothing heard. So we'll move on to the discussion updates by open space liaisons. Starting with Mike, you have anything for Assawamsett Pond Complex?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Yep.
They did finish that whole first section, and there is now a new working group that is calling themselves the Upper Nemasket Improvement Project, something like that. And I've been asked to be a part of that, and I've said that I would. I know that it is to focus on invasive removal and clearing of sediment areas and repair of the Assawamsett Pond Dam, and possibly removal of the Wareham Dam. So those are some of the issues that this group is going to be trying to make happen. And I'll be attending some sort of a meeting once a month, so I'll have more to tell you later.
All right. Next is myself with the parks. they're getting a lot of use now. They're pretty much opened up, not completely. There's no basketball or football allowed right now per the COVID rules. Those are considered high risk, but the low risk and moderate risk sports are allowed to be played with a lot of restrictions. But so the fields are getting used. People are using the trails and fishing area there on Loon Pond. The new football fields and soccer field, multi-use fields, the grass still isn't ready to be played on yet. So that's still, I think we're looking at next spring where the grass will be matured enough for use yet. There's been a lot of work on parking lots lately, some paving, drainage issues taken care of. But as far as open space, it's still, Ted Williams Camp is a great place to go for open space right now with the hiking trails there and the pond. Clear Pond has been closed for the summer, so that's not available for use right now. There are some open space parks that seldom used, like Shaw Park, or that is by the intersection of Highland and Bedford Street, where there's some picnic area there with some grills. It's seldom used. Could get some more use. Same for the Dick Grand Diran Park. There's no grills there, but it's just it's some green space there at the intersection of Bedford and Precinct, where it's just not used very much, and it is available to the community. So looking for things to get out and do. That's some options you have there. But let's see what's next on the agenda here. Patrick Marshall for master plan. Didn't get anything new from him this month, and Brian Reynolds, Historical Commission. He still hasn't been able to call in, so he is not here either. Let's see. Next is discuss any updates on properties currently of interest to Open Space Committee. The first one is the Pauline's Path property, which is the one 73 Howland Road. We discussed a lot in the previous meetings. The Board of Selectmen have decided to let them go forward with the plan that they had to sell and develop a couple properties there, as opposed to looking to purchase it for the town. We had hoped that Wildlands Trust would, or the Audubon. We had hoped Mass Audubon would be able to come in, and they had some interest. However, their interest was just for a portion of the property. They needed some time to generate some money for this, and the Board of Selectmen said, well, they can't just do a portion of the property. It would have to be the whole thing, because there's no negotiating after the fact. Once they have a purchase and sale, the town cannot negotiate. They can only decide to buy it or decide to waive that option, and that's what they decided to waive it. So, anybody else have anything about that property? Or? Nothing. All right. Lakeville Country Club. In the last month, I have not heard anything new on that. As far as I know, it's still got the purchase and sale agreement for a neighborhood of $7 million. And I haven't heard if anything has changed with that. If it's, as far as I know, it's still standing. Anybody else heard anything? No. All right, the Lakeville Hospital properties. You can definitely see the duplexes starting to go up there. A lot of work on that lately. What else? Nothing new I can't recall since the last month. Everything else looks like, as far as I can think, is still the same as it was last month. Anybody else seen anything that I may have missed? Nope. Let's see. And the two that we haven't had any talk about since, it's been about probably 8 months since the last time we heard anything. The Barren Hills and Ocean Spray. Anybody heard anything new on anything potentially happening there? Nope. All right. New business. This is based on an email I received, I believe from Tracy in Town Hall. We need to nominate and vote for an open space representative for the hospital project. Now, this went out to, I believe, all the boards and commissions and committees, or if not all, a lot of them. And they want representation from the committees, and they want specifically someone from Open Space Committee. They did not discuss any, or they didn't mention to me any, what would be required of this person. 1 meeting a month, maybe. I have no idea, more or less. I have no idea. They didn't say that. They just want to know if anybody in open space would be interested in being a part of it, and we would nominate and vote for that person, vote for or against that person. Is anybody personally interested in it? No, nothing heard.
I'm curious. I don't want to commit myself, but I'm damn curious. Because if they've got this nasty problem over there, and they're going to have to come up with a solution for it. And I mean, the only thing so what I have in my head is the whole brownfield, greenfield concept. But just because I go and sit on the project doesn't mean they're going to go for it, because there's always so many things you don't see coming. Donna, have you any interest whatsoever? I hate to call you out, but we're not in tax season.
What is this all about exactly?
Well, they just want to get a committee with, officials from all the different boards to, try to help decide what they can or should do. I mean, I don't really have any details. They provided no details of what they're looking for, other than, they just said they want an open space representative for the hospital project. And it's very vague.
Aren't they already underway?
Yes, it's not all sold yet. It isn't, not everything approved of what
Got it.
can be done. Might just be about possibly just the distribution center too. They didn't call it the distribution center project, though. They called it the hospital project, which is more than just that area. And if that's even official, I don't know. If it's just a proposal, maybe our representative would be the one to bring that information to our meetings too, because nobody else is telling us anything. Go ahead, Mike.
Could we possibly find out a little bit more of why they're putting together, I mean, there's one individual that owns this property and he makes proposals. I mean, why is there a committee that they want of town people? I mean, it kind of sounds like the kind of thing you're going to sit around and you're going to make suggestions and people are going to laugh at you. I mean, I'm not quite sure I understand. What are they looking for? I mean, has something changed? Why a committee? Can we get a little more information before we vote?
I don't know about putting off for more time, because they said vote for this at your next meeting. And that was, I want to say, 3 weeks ago when they sent that email. So, I mean,
I can't begin to tell you how much I don't want to be on that committee. Sorry.
and you know me, it's something I like, but you know how stretched I am. It's definitely a interesting topic to represent open space for whoever would be interested in doing that.
If I thought there was any possibility that some portion of that property was going to be set aside, I'd go for it, but I just can't. I can't imagine that that there's any hope for that. I guess part of what I'm remembering why I don't want to be part of this, I remember when they put in the Seasons gas station, they came, when they did that, they came around to all the committees. Instead of having representatives, they sent people around to all the committees, and they found out what people wanted, and they made all these promises. There was no commitment. They didn't have to do any of it. It was a bunch of bunk.
All right, so here we go. I will, why am I doing this? Volunteer to go, why am I doing this? Volunteer
Like
to
to
go
nominate
find
yourself?
out more about it. But if it's depressing and I'm gonna like rip somebody's head off, I'm just gonna come
Well,
back
I
and be
mean,
like, you know what? They
They didn't
just want
say
to
you
say
can't
that they
step
asked
aside.
everything. Huh?
They didn't say that you cannot step aside if you're
All right, so that's
space
my
representative.
caveat, is that if I
Yeah.
get on there and I'm like, okay, they're just want to make this look good, like we asked everybody, and now we're gonna dig a really big pit and we're gonna take even more nuclear waste over here, then I'm gonna I'm gonna be like, okay, all right, so this is why they did it.
Maybe your cynicism is a good defense.
Ah,
I'd like to officially nominate Liz for that
thanks,
position.
Adam. Thanks, Adam.
Second.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
and Mike seconds it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I mean, if you needed a third from the chair, I'd jump in and give you a third. Vote instead.
Liz, if I could hold your hand, I would.
I know you would.
So we will do a roll call vote in order that I see you on my screen. I have Mike Schroeder first,
Aye.
Adam Young,
Yes. Aye.
Donna Wabrick,
Yes,
Liz Nash. I'm gonna recuse you.
Until I tell you I can't do it anymore, yeah.
All right. So that's an aye.
Yeah, that's an aye.
And myself, that's an aye. That's unanimous in favor. I know, Liz, that you will do the Open Space Committee proud, whatever you decide to do after finally meeting with them.
Did they give you any idea when this is starting up, Jesse?
No. As I said, like 3 weeks ago, they said at your next meeting, vote for this.
All right. And I assume I'll be someone will communicate with me.
We'll
All right.
I will let Tracy know that we voted in favor of you being our representative. She may even watch this before I remember to send her an email tomorrow. So, but I will let her know.
Okie dokie, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see what's next. All right. Discuss the chapter land spreadsheet of Lakeville's 61 ABC properties. This is the spreadsheet based off of the last mention of the selectmen who were saying that we should be more proactive in hunting down who would potentially be willing to sell their 61 A, B, and C properties before they actually have a purchase and sale agreement. Because once they have that agreement, like I mentioned earlier, the town cannot negotiate with them. But if we could identify, they want us to identify in advance who potentially would sell their properties, so possibly the town can negotiate with them before there's actually a purchase and sale agreement. So this has been mentioned to us a couple of times, but most recently after the 73 Howland Road property, when it was kind of said that we really need to be proactive, that it was put on open space to be proactive about these properties. So I was able to get a hold of a spreadsheet that the assessors had of all of these properties, and I sent this to each of you as well as a copy with the agenda to be posted. And has everybody had a chance to take a look at it? Find my copy here. So check your list. And
Yes,
I will go ahead, whoever that was, Mike.
Mike, I just wanted to say, I think that rather than regard this as people who might be willing to sell their property, they're people that we need to reach out to who maybe have absolutely no idea about selling it, but just to let them know that should something come up and their life situation change or whatever, that before they really, or somebody may approach them with some huge offer, but just let them know that the town, the open space committee at any rate, regards their property as something that being kept as open space or farmland or whatever, regards it as very valuable the way that it is, and that the town might be able, if anything does come up, that we hope they will come to us first to see if by any chance the town can do something to preserve the property, but don't make it the kind of, let's don't regard it as looking for people who we think might be interested in selling. Because I'm thinking about a farm in particular that that I think is an active farm and everybody's happy with it being just the way it is. But we need to approach that family and let them know that that we think that it is extremely valuable to the town as it is, and that we would hope that if they indeed feel that they need to stop farming, or if somebody comes to them and wants to develop it, please seek us out first, because we would hope to be able to preserve the property if it was at all financially possible.
Yeah, that definitely is probably a much better way of wording it. The way that it was, just, asked of us was just to try to identify the properties and maybe approach them before we just find out of the blue that there's a purchase and sale agreement. There's really very little can be done at that point. So, we've been able to get a hold of the information. It was publicly accessible, but we had just never seen this list before. All we had to do really was ask for it. And the information's out there: who owns the land, how much they own, how much land is under this chapter protection. And yeah, if we can just let them know that we're trying to protect it, maybe we could get much better deal for the town. Maybe that person just wants this land to be protected in perpetuity. And but I think the only option is to develop it. So maybe if we know in advance before developers approach them, that may save it and preserve the property for a long time, if not forever.
Is there a preferred way of making that outreach? I'm seeing here in the sheet, there's property address, there's owner. I don't know if the owner resides at that property. That's not going to always be the case, especially because I see there's 2 columns for owners. So presumably some live there, some don't, or in some cases the owner is a group of trustees. So presumably you may not be able to just, write a letter to the trustees at that address. So I guess in terms of next steps, trying to find a way to actually make contact with these owners if they don't reside at that property. I'm not sure how to go about doing that. Maybe there's some resource in town hall.
Yeah. Well, I know some of these names I see. I get emails where they're CC'd. Some of them I recognize that way. So I would have access to their email addresses. I personally probably don't have any phone numbers for these names. Maybe one or two. If the town would provide what they have, I don't know. They might say that the phone number is not something they can give us. I don't know. We can only need to ask. You know, worst they can do is say no. And then if that's
Jesse?
the case, then our first approach for the ones that we don't know them personally is, I mean, starting off with sending them some mail. But that would,
Jesse?
we could try something else first. Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
I'm sorry, hon. So I get the, I got to glance at it really fast, but there's obviously probably a decent proportion of property in town that people have in these chapter 61A, B, and C because it's a way to lower your taxes. But doesn't this kind of speak to the whole open space plan where they had picked out priority properties? And so those would be the people who we'd want to approach first and have a conversation with about if they had ever considered either, like some people do, finding another organization that would take over their property or portions of their property so it would remain in open space, or it would remain as open farmland, etc. But because we would never be able to talk to all of those people and convince them all, and doing it kind of, I mean, honestly, if the ones that we thought were priorities were all like, nope, I can get a couple mil out of this piece of property and I can't help you, and the town's not going to buy it, we might end up with other properties that people would keep as open space or as open farmland. And I guess that's just probably the journey that we're going to take. But I'm just assuming that that's why they came up with priority properties in the open space thing. And of course, we're trying to redo that plan right now. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, looking at this, I see there's 130 different addresses. We've identified, 7 priorities. I would say a lot of these are probably fall under those priorities. Definitely not all of them. So yeah, it might behoove us to, figure out which ones fall under the priorities first, and go at it from that angle. And yeah, I mean, I don't think all 130 are gonna even respond, because they would have to be first interested in. Once they respond, that's basically like, hey, I want to negotiate with the town. That's what that's saying. 130, probably not even close to them are even interested in even making that first step. Go ahead, Mike.
I think we probably, I mean, just the addresses don't mean an awful lot. You need to see them, you need to see where the properties are in the town. I need to be looking at an assessor's map, and because it's a little hard to know just which ones really fall into, unless you recognize the name and you know where the property is.
Right.
I mean, the one that I'm thinking about, the particular farm that I'm thinking about, I mean, I know the people's names. I would know how to approach them. I don't know them personally, but I sort of know the family.
Right.
And yes, it's definitely one of our priority properties.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, any line of communication we can get just to let them know that the town would hope to be the first, their first contact if they're interested in selling. And hopefully the town can negotiate before there's a purchase and sale already out there. Because the purchase and sale may not even be the deal they're looking for, but once they have that there's no negotiating anymore.
Maybe one, sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe one way of going about this, especially just to follow up Mike's point of simply making sure that they know of our interest, and not necessarily prioritizing or anything, but just to make that initial, have that initial conversation. We could start with this list that you provided of properties, and then create a new column, maybe 2 columns of have we contacted them, and then any information about that contact and how it was. Was it an email? Was the email responded? Did it seem favorable or not? And if we keep everything in one place, then hopefully, and also who updates the file, we can follow up. So for example, I'll just pick the first thing, although I've never heard of it before, 48 Highland Road. If I've sent that person a letter in the mail or an email, I could enter that information into the sheet, and then we can make sure that as more of these conversations happen, we tick off each of these properties, and then hopefully one of them, or if we're hoping maybe more than one of them, would actually approach us at some point. But until we actually have these options, I think prioritizing it's now your cynicism is rubbing off on me, Liz, because I feel like we don't even have the chance to have priorities at this moment. We just need to be getting our desires out there. And Mike, what do you have to say?
I was going to say maybe this is a conversation we need. The conversation we're having right now is a conversation we need to be having with the town. Is there some way to use public social media to just say that this is something that the town has lost some significant properties because we hadn't discussed some of this before. I mean, we could even mention I guess you could even specifically mention the Highland Road property and explain what happened with the Audubon Society and how we could not negotiate just one piece of it, and to let people know that if they have a property that they think might be a priority protection thing, to reach out to us. Or if somebody knows somebody. So maybe we can kind of get a little bit more community involvement. Can you imagine putting something like that out on, I don't know, Lakeville helping Lakeville? I don't know.
That's the definition of helping. Lakeville helping Lakeville, really. I mean, trying to help the town preserve some of this land. It's definitely something we could do. I like exactly what you said. Explain what brought us to this point, that the Audubon was interested in helping, but at that point nothing could be done because there was already a purchase and sale agreement. And similar situation with this one would raise more eyebrows is the Lakeville Country Club. I mean,
Oh yeah, well,
we
because
couldn't
that was
do anything because the first we heard about it being for sale was that it was agreed upon to be sold, and can't negotiate unless that sale falls through.
just I will volunteer to write up something that we might put out for the public. If I would be, that's the kind of thing that I can sit around and do.
Yeah.
It's just something that maybe we could. You can read it over and see if you think it is something that could go on to Lakeville, helping Lakeville.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, they have asked us to be more proactive about this, and it's definitely something that, it's something I know we're all interested in preserving as many of these properties as possible. I don't know that the town would be able to do much for the property, but just having the chance that the town is approached before there's a sale increases the odds so much. So that's really the goal, is to get them to approach the town first.
We could let people know what our priorities are, that is pieces that are adjacent to other protected pieces, prime farmland, pieces that abut waterways.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we can work on a letter, and we can vote next time if that letter is good, if there's any editing should be done, and we can let everybody know we're trying to preserve land around here more so than they already know that we're trying to do. So.
There's no point in beating ourselves up about the golf course though, because that land was,
Yeah.
we would not have been consulted, believe me.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, anything else on that? If not, I will move on to the next item. Discuss any correspondence and announcements. Now, I've already brought up everything that they've emailed to me. So, anybody else have anything else? Nothing heard. Discuss agenda items for the next meeting. Other than what we just discussed about this 61 A, B, and C spreadsheet and a letter to let people know about it. Anybody else have any agenda items we should add?
Yep, we'll discuss the survey.
The survey.
We all will have received it, and hopefully we'll have reviewed it before then.
That's right.
I think we had mentioned like working meetings, and we didn't talk about that. So add that to the agenda, because we, Liz and I tried a working meeting, and I don't know, I think we both got busy and we haven't had a chance to get back to it.
Right. Yeah, that is that was on this agenda too. The work group meetings. We talked about the survey at that point. So you guys weren't able to have that meeting.
Well, we had a meeting. I think it was just like, remember what we talked about? Adam was going to talk with Mike and give her a couple tips on how to highlight stuff, I think, that she thought needed changing. So I think that then I got pretty busy. Yeah, but Adam's moved forward on the survey, and I don't know, if Mike can do that highlighting of the sections that need changing, and we have a real survey and we discuss it and get it out there, those are going to be the two first most important things, so we can move forward, and then we can chop up the plan into pieces, and folks can say what they're interested in working on. All right, Adam already's jumped on the survey, so he has a background in it though, so I think it's a little easier for him than other things.
I will note that I think the primary thing that is probably getting in the way of the plan being completed by now, it seems to be time. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I think time is hard to come by, right? Whether you have jobs or other commitments or family matters, that's the hard thing. I do think that now that we have an opportunity for a new member to join the group, I think that might be a potential solution. Hopefully someone can join who has the motivation and hopefully the time to help us with this plan. And to that end, whether it's related to joining the committee or not, I did receive correspondence from Joan Morton, a former member of the Open Space Committee. She expressed her interest in helping us with this plan. She was actually one of the editors of the last plan. I gave her access to the Google document. I haven't checked whether she's worked on it. She certainly has the right to. I hope that she would join these meetings. Although, Jesse, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think these meetings are off limit or in some way difficult to access to the public. How would you recommend that she communicate with us or anyone else who's watching that has interest?
Well, yeah, right now they're not open public meetings. They can only watch the recordings. But if they have something to discuss, as in they're a part of helping on the open space plan, they can be a part of the meeting as a guest. We can have, that was one of the parts in the script that I read in the beginning of the meeting, is I have to introduce any guests that are in the meeting. So that is an option if anyone wants to contribute that way. So, yeah, other than that, you know, they can always, you know, communicate with suggestions to us on, you know, they see us active on Facebook. Yeah, feel free, send us a message. You know, I don't want to put my email or phone number out there, but just contact me there if you have any suggestions. You know, always willing to communicate that way. And if you want to help with the open space plan or get involved in get in this 7th seat that we have available, that you're supposed to contact Town Hall about that. They have you're supposed to write a letter of interest. So that's how you would get the 7th seat there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we advertise that on Facebook as well. Maybe someone who, you know, follows along with your posts there might be interested.
Yeah, I can reshare that. It's probably been about 2 or 3 weeks since the last time the town Facebook page posted it, and I can find that and share it. Just let them know that we're looking for another member. All right. Next spot on the agenda is discuss any other business not mentioned in the agenda that may properly come before the committee. Anybody have anything else that we may have missed? Okay. Nothing heard. Did someone say something? I can't see you right now. Nothing. All right. Next meeting, 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 2nd, always the first Wednesday of the month, or usually the first Wednesday of the month. Location to be determined. I'm guessing it's probably still going to be Zoom, a remote meeting. If it's not Zoom, we were doing our meetings prior to the pandemic at Loon Pond Lodge, hoping that that would be where we go back to. So Wednesday, September 2nd, 7 p.m. If something comes up, we need another emergency meeting like we did for Howland Road, we would do one sooner if necessary. So I guess it would be time to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, Liz seconds. Any further discussion? All right, so at 8:11 p.m. we will have a vote, roll call vote, starting with Liz Nash.
Yes.
Aye. All right. Mike Schroeder,
Aye.
Adam Young,
Aye.
Donna Wabrick,
Aye.
and myself, Jesse Medford. Aye. It's unanimous. We will adjourn at 8:11 p.m.